Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the Curt Trailer Hitch Receiver here on our 2021 Jeep Cherokee. So this is what our trailer hitch is going to look like installed on our vehicle here. Now it actually has a hidden design, and what that means is the cross tube is actually going to be tucked away behind the bumper. The only thing we are going to be able to see is the receiver tube. This not only makes for the best overall appearance, it also gives us our best ground clearance possible. Now what we can see has a nice black powder coated finish, which is going to help protect the hitch from rust over time. It's also going to help it blend in with the underbody paneling on the vehicle. So adding a trailer hitch to your Cherokee, it's going to be an excellent option because it's going to make your vehicle that much more versatile. Now we can obviously use the trailer hitch for towing, but let's say we wanted to hit some trails or just simply free up some space inside the vehicle for us and the family on those long road trips. We could easily attach either a Hitch Mounted Bike Rack or Hitch Mounted Cargo Carrier. So in regards to towing, our trailer hitch is going to provide us with a 4,500 pound gross trailer weight rating. That's the amount we can pull outward on our receiver tube. And it also has a 675 pound tow weight rating, which is going to be the downward force on the receiver tube. Now keep in mind these capacities are for the hitch only, which is tested separately of the vehicle. Therefore, you do need to verify your vehicle's towing capacity in your owner's manual and abide by the lower of the two rated components, whether that's the vehicle or the hitch. Now our receiver does have a 2" by 2" opening. Now this is the larger of the two available sizes here for this vehicle, and I always recommend going with the larger 2" opening simply because there's more of those accessories to choose from. There's plenty of bike racks, cargo carriers, and ball mounts for that 2" opening, whereas the 1 1/4" one, which is the other size, is a little bit more limited. So you're getting the most versatile option here with the larger opening. Now taking a closer look at the side of the receiver tube, you're going to have a 5/8" diameter hitch pin hole that's going to work with our 5/8" diameter hitch pin and clip. Now keep in mind the hitch pin and clip is sold separately. It doesn't come with the trailer hitch. And the reason for that is a lot of your accessories are actually going to come with their own. So you shouldn't need to worry about buying this separately. And then welded to the bottom of the receiver tube, we have our safety chain loops. Those work great with both the larger clevis style as well as the smaller S-type hooks. So a couple measurements here for you. They're going to help you when you're selecting your hitch mounted accessories. The first one is the distance from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening. And for that, you're looking at right around 12 inches. So that'll be useful when you're selecting a ball mount. That way you can make sure you get the correct rise and drop to tow your trailer level. And then finally, the distance from the center of the hitch pin hole to the outside edge of the bumper. You're looking at about 4.5 inches for this one. And that's going to be useful when you're selecting your folding accessories. That way you can make sure that they don't contact the vehicle while they're in the stowed position. So in regards to installation, I know what you guys are thinking. If you look over the instructions, you'll see that you have to remove a section of your exhaust. But I myself thought that was going to be a little bit more challenging than it actually was. It really wasn't that bad at all. We're going to show you all how to do this. So I definitely think this is something that you guys at home can do. You don't need a lift, and it just requires common tools. The only tool you're going to need you might not have, and that's a torque wrench. You can actually rent this for free from most local auto parts stores. So there's really no cutting or hacking into the vehicle whatsoever. But with that being said, let's go ahead and walk you through that entire process step by step now. Give yourselves around 1 to 2 hours depending on your experience level. So the first step of your installation is to support your exhaust. So in order to do that, we're going to be taking a cam buckle strap here, just tying it to 2 points on the frame here, and then we'll pull it tight. Now, if you guys are working on the ground, you could use a couple sets of jack stands, a couple blocks of wood, whatever you have nearby really will work. But since we're in the air, we're going to be using this strap here. I'm just going to hook it on to the coil springs and then pull it tight. Once we have that down, there is 2 brackets on either side of the vehicle securing the exhaust to the frame we need to remove. So there's 2 bolts per side on each of those brackets. We'll take a 13mm socket. We'll go ahead and remove those. Now once we have this bracket down, we'll go ahead and just do that same thing on the other side. So now next thing, we're going to come underneath the vehicle here. So you're going to find your muffler, then follow the tailpipe all the way back till about this point here. And there's going to be a band clamp attaching the 2 sections of our exhaust together. So we're going to take a 15mm deep well socket, and we're going to loosen the nut at the top of that band clamp, and then we're actually going to be removing this rear section of our exhaust here. So now once we have that band clamp loose, it is kind of challenging, but basically we're just going to sort of pry these 2 exhaust pipes apart from one another. So we're just kind of working them each back and forth a little bit. Make sure you have something to support this here. That way, when you do release it, it doesn't fall to the ground. So just take your time here and just maneuver these two tailpipes until you can separate them. So I went ahead and used another support device here for this section of our exhaust assembly here because I didn't like how much it was flexing up there. So just do the same thing as we did for this one back here. If we're in the air, we'll use another strap, or if we're on the ground, we'll use a jack stand or a couple blocks of wood. But now that we have this pipe supported, we're going to go ahead and remove this section here. So next, once we have the exhaust out of the way, we're going to come underneath the vehicle here and look on the passenger side frame rail. So if we look up there, we may or may not have a wiring harness secured to the bottom of the frame rail. If you do have it, you're going to need to take a trim panel tool or a screwdriver, and you're going to pry that fastener free from the bottom of the frame, just like so. And we're just going to let it hang there for now. So I didn't see anything in the instructions about this, but I looked in the bottom of the frame rail over on the driver's side, and it looks like we have another wiring harness going on the bottom of that as well. Now, your model may not, but if you do have it, we're going to go ahead and loosen this for now, just like we did the passenger side. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to begin inserting our hardware into the frame. So I definitely recommend safety glasses for this step because we'll be working with our Fishwires here, which are very springy and they have a pointy end, so you wouldn't want that to end up in your eye. So I do recommend safety glasses. I use those every time I work with these. But with that being said, we're going to start here over on the driver's side, but it's going to be the same as the passenger side. We're going to need to get 3 fish wires, which is what we see here, 3 of our spacer blocks, and then 3 of our carriage bolts. Now, in order to get your hardware through that attachment hole, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our fish wires here. We're going to take the coiled end and put it through the hole that we want the bolt to come out of. So we're going to be using this oblong hole here just directly behind the bumper beam flange. We're going to place the coiled end through that, and then I'm going to fish it out this large square hole here, which is going to be known as our access hole. So once I have that through there, I'm going to place a spacer block over there, shove it into the frame, and then I'm going to thread on a carriage bolt. And once I have that on there, I'm going to grab the other end, I'm going to push the carriage bolt into the frame, and then I'm going to fish it down through the hole there. Now that I have this one in, I'm going to do that same thing here for this hole on the side. So again, place the coiled end through the hole we want the bolt to come out of. You can't see it, but you can kind of feel it. There is going to be a hole on the side of your frame right there. And fish it out our access hole. Same thing. Spacer block, carriage bolt. Perfect. So we got 2 out of 3 done. Now we're going to do the last one here, which is our access hole. And the process for this is a little bit different, but still very easy. We'll take our fish wire here, place on a spacer block, and then a carriage bolt. And this is actually known as the reverse fish wire technique, but all we do is place the carriage bolt up into the frame, shove our spacer block in there, and then pull both of them straight down. So that's all we need to do on this side. We'll just simply repeat those same few steps over on the other side. So we've got all of our hardware in place here. You can see we have 3 bolts on each side, so we're just about ready to lift the hitch into position. But I'm just kind of looking over everything, and our instructions just tell us to take the bottom retainer from our wiring harness off the frame. As you can see here, that doesn't really give us a lot of room. I don't think we'll be able to get our hitch into position just with that amount of slack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove for sure this one and possibly this other keeper on the outside of the frame, just so I can really pull that wiring harness down and we don't have any issues with it getting in the way of our hitch. So I recommend you guys do the same thing as well. They don't really go into detail about this in the instructions, so we're just going to take some extra steps here so it's a little bit easier when we get that hitch in the air. So there we go. I've got that pulled down now. We have plenty more room to work up in here to get your hitch into position. So to help you guys a little bit, when you do get the hitch in the air, you want to make sure you have your hardware nearby because we need to immediately secure it once we're holding it up there. So on each side, You're going to have 3 conical tooth washers and 3 hex nuts. So once we lift the hitch into position, we're going to be pulling those fish wires off, and then we're going to be placing on a conical tooth washer over the carriage bolt. Make sure the teeth are facing up towards the hitch, and then we'll secure it here with our hex nut. So just to explain things a little bit better, because it is kind of hard to see once we get everything up there. So now with an extra set of hands, we can raise the hitch up into position. Keep in mind for your side bolts here, you want to make sure you push those back into the frame first, because you won't be able to install the hitch if they're coming out. So we got the hitch set up into position, and basically how we have it secured now is once we pushed it into position, we just pulled the 2 fish wires out that attach it to the sides of the frame, because once you pull both of those bolts out, it's going to lock the hitch in place. And then we can begin removing the fish wires and installing our nuts. Now you want to be careful when you're placing your nuts and your washers over the carriage bolts, because you can push them back up in the frame, so just be careful. I usually use the washer to pin the bolt to the side there, that way it doesn't jump up when I'm threading on our nut. So now that we have our hitch secure there, we have all of our nuts and washers on, we're ready to go ahead and snug up all of our fasteners. Now it goes without saying, but make sure that your wiring harness on either side isn't trapped between the frame and the hitch when you're tightening everything down. And with that being said, we use a 3/4 inch socket so we can snug up all of our fasteners. So now we can come back with our torque wrench here and torque everything down to the specifications listed in your instructions. And now all that's left to do is to raise our exhaust back up into position and secure it to the frame with our factory hangers. And then with everything torqued down, our exhaust back into position, that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the Curt Trailer Hitch Receiver here on our 2021 Jeep Cherokee.